On an ordinary day, an armored truck rolled out of a cash depot. Inside, two middle-aged guards were relaxed, trading small complaints about the worn-out truck. But their routine trip to the bank took a sharp turn. Out of nowhere, a cement mixer blocked their path, parked square in the middle of the street. The guards thought it was harmless roadwork. Then everything flipped. Armed men in construction vests stormed the scene, disguises hiding their real intent. They drilled straight into the truck's door with heavy tools, then hurled gas canisters inside, knocking the guards out cold. When the doors finally swung open, the robbers snatched up every cash bag they could find. This wasn't just a hit on the money vault. It turned deadly. Both guards and an innocent bystander lost their lives in the chaos. 5 months after the brutal robbery, Patrick Hill walked into Forico security, hoping to land a job moving cash for the banks. During his interview, his future boss Terry studied Hill's clean record, then made sure he knew just how dangerous the work could be after what happened not long ago. Next, Hill met Bullet, a seasoned guard tasked with breaking in the rookies. Bullet wasted no time. He laid out Forico's strict rules and pushed Hill straight into a round of tests. First came the fitness trial. Hill sprinted, dropped for push-ups, and hauled heavy weights, proving he could handle the physical strain. With that done, Bullet moved him outside for the next challenge. Behind the wheel of an armored truck, Hill fired up the engine and steered through a tight course in the company lot. He parked without a scratch, showing he had the steady hands needed for the job. The last hurdle was the shooting test. Hill took a company pistol, loaded it, and fired round after round at targets placed at different ranges. Every shot slammed into the center, showing flawless aim. At the same time, Bullet and another trainer stood by, writing down the scores. Hill cleared every mark needed by Forico, locking in his place on the team. Bullet then brought him to the locker room to get his uniform and gear. Inside, Hill spotted other guards gearing up for duty. One was even shaking down a coworker for cash, a sign of the rough crowd he was joining. After picking up his gun and standard kit, Hill was officially set to hit the field. On his first day, Hill was paired with Bullet and another veteran guard named Dave. Together, they rolled out in an armored truck to collect cash. During the drive, Dave brought up the big heist from 5 months ago. He admitted he was supposed to be the driver that day, but had been homesick. Then he gave Hill a firm warning, "Don't take chances, not in this job." Hill kept his reply short and spent most of the trip scanning the streets and sticking to every rule. At the bank, Hill met the local security team. Bullet walked him through the routine, double-check the paperwork, inspect the seals, then load the money into the truck. Everything went off without trouble. Back at Forico, as the day ended, Hill seemed unusually focused on the staff ID cards, almost like he had another purpose for being there. After clocking out, he joined some coworkers at a pool hall, sharing small talk and drinks to close out his first shift. Some of the other guards didn't take Hill seriously at first. To them, he looked like just another rookie with no clue how dangerous the job really was. But Hill didn't show much reaction. He stayed quiet, taking in every detail around him. As time passed, and Hill settled into the grind, he was once again paired with Bullet and Dave for a cash run. This time, their route led to the docks. Bullet stepped into a warehouse to check things out. Moments later, a voice crackled through the radio, cold and threatening. Bullet was being held hostage. The kidnappers demanded $2 million from the truck, warning they'd kill Bullet if they didn't get it. Dave fell apart fast, scrambling to remember company rules that said never hand over the money. In his panic, he leaned toward leaving Bullet behind to protect the cash. But Hill kept his cool. He pushed Dave to see that Bullet's life mattered more than any stack of bills.
You don't want to do this, you can get out of the truck now. But we're not leaving him behind. He's one of us.
After a tense pause, Dave gave in and agreed to go along with the robbers' demand. Shortly after, Dave and Hill drove the truck to the spot the robbers had chosen. There, they found Bullet tied up, a gun to his head. One of the robbers ordered them to toss the money into their car. Despite the risk, Hill took charge. He told Dave to stay put and keep a lookout. Then he stepped out with the cash and purposely threw the bag farther down the road. The move forced the robbers to leave their car to grab it. That was all Hill needed. In an instant, he drew his gun and fired with sharp, controlled shots. The robbers dropped one by one, taken out before they could react. Unexpectedly, One of the robbers managed to break away and ran into an empty warehouse. Hill chased him down without a second thought. He cornered the man and pressed for answers about who planned the hit. When the robber clammed up, Hill ended it right there. Soon after the chaos settled, Dave and Bullet stepped into the warehouse. They found Hill alone, standing over the body of the last robber. The sight stunned them. Neither had expected Hill to single-handedly stop the heist and save Bullet's life. But this was only the beginning. From here on, the true nature of his mission would surface, relentless, cold, and driven by a loss that could never be repaid. Welcome to Wrath of Man. In the days that followed, Hill was called in by 2 FBI agents. They drilled him about his shooting, which had looked far too skilled compared to the scores he posted on his Forico test. Hill stayed composed, saying the danger had sharpened his aim in the moment. Then the agents played footage from the big robbery 5 months back. They want to know if Hill saw any ties to the attack he'd just survived. Hill watched closely, his eyes narrowing when one robber gunned down a civilian. Something seemed to click, but he kept it to himself. Pressed again, Hill calmly said he saw no link. The agents took his word, wrapped up the session, and told him to get some rest. As Hill walked out, Terry caught up with him. His supervisor laid out the company rule. Any guard caught up in violence would be pulled from the field to avoid trauma. Hill was being moved to desk duty until things cooled off. The look on Hill's face said he didn't agree, but he stayed quiet and let Terry finish. Not long after, the owner of Forico showed up. He pulled Terry aside for a private talk. While they spoke, Hill was told to head home and rest. Behind closed doors, the owner made it clear. Hill's skills were too valuable to waste behind a desk. He ordered Terry to drop the reassignment and keep Hill right where he was, on cash runs. Terry had no choice but to follow the command. At the same time, the FBI agents reached out to their boss, Agent King, with big news. They had matched Patrick Hill to a man the Bureau had been hunting for 25 years. But King shut it down fast. He told them to stick to the robbery case and leave Hill alone. That night, back at his apartment, he got an unexpected visit from a woman. She handed him a brown envelope and left without a word. Moments later, Hill sat on the edge of his bed and opened it. Inside were files on the old heist and detailed autopsy reports. He studied every page with sharp focus, connecting pieces of a puzzle he seemed to have been building for a long time. 3 months later, Hill and Bullet were on another routine cash run when trouble hit again. Out of nowhere, armed men ambushed their truck. The attackers smeared black paint across the windshield, cutting off all visibility. Then they launched tear gas into the cabin, trying to flush the guards out. With no other choice, Hill stepped out, steady and prepared. But the second the robbers saw his face, they froze. Panic took over, and without a single shot fired, they bolted, disappearing as fast as they'd come. Later, Hill reported everything to Terry back at Forico. But Terry didn't buy it. The whole story sounded too wild, and he even suggested Hill might be losing touch with reality. Later at the pool bar, Dave and Bullet went over the ambush again. Neither could make sense of how the robbers had turned and run the moment Hill stepped out. Bullet pointed out something that left them even more shaken. The thieves seemed terrified, like they already knew who Patrick Hill really was. Meanwhile, at Dana's apartment, Hill was with her. Dana worked at Forico, and what started as a tender moment quickly turned tense. Hill told her to sit on the couch and began pressing her with hard questions. At that moment, he demanded answers about a stash of cash he'd found in her things and about photos of her parents. When Dana hesitated, Hill fired a shot into the couch, close enough to jolt her into talking. Shaken, she finally admitted everything, where the money came from and how it tied back to the old robbery. 5 months earlier, on the day of the deadly heist, Hill was outside enjoying time with his son, Dougie. In the middle of their day, Hill got a call from a friend asking for help on an armored truck job. At first, Hill didn't want to get involved, but his friend pushed, claiming it was just lookout work, nothing risky. The truth was darker. Hill was tied to a mafia crew that regularly hit cash trucks. One of their guys couldn't handle the job that day, so Hill had to fill in, even though he'd planned to watch a soccer game with Dougie. Shortly after, Hill parked by a food truck near the Forico depot while Dougie waited in the car. Watching the gate, Hill radioed his team when the armored truck rolled out and turned down the street. At the same time, under a bridge, men dressed as construction workers launched the ambush. One of them dragged Dougie out of the car and forced him face down on the ground. Hill stood frozen as another man gunned his son down. He rushed forward but was hit by several bullets himself. Bleeding out, Hill still managed to see the killer's face clearly, a scarred man he would never forget. 3 weeks after the shooting, Hill woke up from a coma in the hospital. The first news he got crushed him. His son Dougie hadn't survived. Soon after, his wife came to see him. Overcome with grief, she blamed Hill for their son's death. Then she made the hardest choice of all. She walked away, leaving Hill completely alone. Fueled by loss, Hill went to FBI agent King for answers. King had a list of suspects tied to cash truck hits, but couldn't say for sure who was guilty. He warned Hill that if he went looking for payback, the FBI could only ignore it for so long. That's when the truth came out. Hill was actually Mason Hargreaves, a crime boss with deep connections. With King's list in hand, Hill ordered his crew to hunt down everyone linked to the robbery. They took out nearly every name, including the Gashi family, who ran an illegal film ring. Even though the Gashis had nothing to do with the truck ambush, Hill had them killed. But he also made sure their captive girls were freed and given money to build safer, better lives. With no clear trail leading to his son's killers, Hill told his crew he was heading back to London to clear his head. But that was just a cover. In truth, he built a fake identity as Patrick Hill and returned to America with a plan of his own. Under this new name, he got hired as a guard at Forico Security. Hill was sure someone inside the company had ties to the heist that took Dougie's life. By working there, he could dig for answers without tipping anyone off. Back home, his crew kept running jobs, unaware of Hill's personal hunt. They targeted another Forico truck, blasting it with paint and tear gas. But when they saw Hill inside as a guard, panic hit them fast. Fearing their own boss, they pulled back and vanished before things got out of hand. The story then jumped back to a time before the heist, focusing on a group of restless military veterans. Carlos, Sam, Brad, Tom, Jan, and their old commander, Jackson. Money was tight for all of them. Most were jobless or stuck in dead-end work. Pushed by frustration, Jackson and Tom started planning robberies, all while keeping up the act of normal family men. But Jan didn't hide his disrespect for Jackson, stirring tension from the start. Their first hit was on a rich man, but they only pulled a few $100,000, far below what they needed. Pressed by growing debts, they set their sights higher. They reached out to someone inside an armored truck company, hoping for a real score. Through that contact, they mapped out a plan to rob a Forico truck loaded with cash. But when the day came, everything went off the rails. Jan snapped, turned violent, and shot the guard along with Dougie. The rest of the crew hadn't signed up for unnecessary violence. Still, the damage was done. With no way to fix it, they all ran, leaving chaos behind. In the present day, Jackson and Tom came back together with a new plan. This time, they aimed bigger than ever, Forico Security's depot on Black Friday, with a jackpot of over $150 million on the line. While Jackson's crew prepared, Bullet kept up his usual runs in the armored truck with Hill. But on one of those trips, Bullet dropped a shocking revelation. He admitted he was working as an inside man for the gang and that the big heist was just days away. Bullet ordered Hill to stay out of the way when it all went down. To make sure, he handed Hill an unloaded pistol, leaving him powerless to interfere. Hill didn't argue. This was exactly what he'd been waiting for, the perfect chance to settle the score and wipe out the people who took his son. After Bullet assured Jackson and his crew that Hill would play along, he stopped the truck. 4 robbers in heavy body armor climbed in, hiding out so they could be smuggled right into the Forico depot. Meanwhile, Jackson and Tom trailed them in a black SUV, ready to move. Once Bullet and Hill drove into the depot, the thieves burst out and took over. They held Hill, Terry, Dave, and all the other guards at gunpoint, demanding the main gate be opened or Bullet would be shot. Bullet, who was in on it from the start, acted like the voice of reason. He told the Forico staff to cooperate so no one else would get hurt. But things flipped fast. The depot's emergency alarm went off, and more Forico guards rushed in, opening fire on the robbers. In seconds, the whole place turned into a war zone. The attackers fired back with automatic rifles, cutting down guards to force their way through. To clear the way for their getaway, the robbers set explosives on the main steel door. The blast tore it apart, letting Jackson, Tom, and their crew drive straight into the storage area. They wasted no time. With gunfire echoing through the depot, they rushed to the giant stacks of cash, stuffing money into bags and special containers as fast as they could before more guards showed up. In the middle of the chaos, a Forico guard managed to shoot one of the thieves, causing a brief wave of panic. Hill seized the chance. He grabbed Carlos from behind, choking him out until he dropped. Then he freed Terry and Dave, who were still held at gunpoint. After seeing Carlos wasn't the man he wanted, Hill slipped on Carlos's helmet and grabbed his weapon. In this new disguise, he pushed deeper into the depot. Hill found Sam and Tom and shot them both before they could even turn. Moments later, he spotted Jackson and put a bullet through his neck, dropping the gang's leader on the spot. Meanwhile, Dave, finally free, grabbed a gun and took out Brad, cutting down another threat. The momentum inside the depot shifted fast. Hill and Dave moved together, clearing out the last gang members still trying to fight back. But didn't stop there. He grabbed a bag loaded with cash that the robbers hadn't yet moved and quietly slipped a phone inside, his way of tracking whoever made off with the money. As things started to calm down, Bullet showed his true side. He turned his gun on his own team, shooting them one after another to erase any witnesses. Then he aimed at Hill, leaving him badly wounded, and finished by shooting Dave, ending his life instantly. Once Bullet cleared out all the threats inside the depot, he linked up with Jackson and Jan, who had both survived the earlier gunfight. The three made a quick escape in a getaway car, slipping past the police blocking off the area. During their flight, they smashed through a police cruiser blocking the road and raced into a closed garage that led to an underground tunnel. From there, they kept moving, taking the stolen cash with them. Deep in the tunnel, Jackson, badly wounded, started to suspect Jan was about to turn on him. He reached for his gun to strike first, but Jan was quicker. Knife already ready, Jan slashed Jackson's throat, killing him on the spot. Soon after, Jan and Bullet came out at the end of the tunnel, each on a motorcycle stacked with bags of cash. Once above ground, they moved to shift the money into a nearby car. But the comm broke fast. As they started loading the trunk, Bullet quietly reached for his gun, planning to shoot Jan and take everything for himself. His move backfired. Jan reacted instantly, wrestled control, and shot Bullet before he could even fight back. With Bullet dead, Jan packed up the money and got ready to drive off before the police closed in. Not long after getting away, Jan was back in his apartment, lounging with piles of cash around him. As he sorted through the bags, he found a phone, and it started to ring. That's when it hit him. Hill had slipped the device in to track him down. Hill was already there, waiting for this moment to face the man who had killed his son. Standing across from Jan, Hill pulled out Dougie's autopsy report and pointed to the exact spots where the bullets had torn through his son during that tragic day. Then, without wasting a second, Hill shot Jan in those same places, making sure his death matched Dougie's in every painful way, a final, personal payback. When it was done, Hill left the apartment, leaving all the money behind. He called Agent King to say it was over, then vanished, taking nothing with him. So the moral of the story is, if your job interview asks how good you are with guns, maybe just say you're terrible. Otherwise, you might accidentally end up as a revenge-driven crime boss with perfectly placed bullets.